Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder.
All right, guys, what's up? This is Ryan, Torch Talk Podcast. Today, I've got 3 guests. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see them. But if you are listening in your truck or in a garage or at the office, obviously, just follow along. You don't need any visuals today. However, we do have at least one beautiful face on. That's Joe Clark. Happy about that, right? I am in the middle of Joe. My life is spread out all over the place. Such and such media. They hit us with like a 30-something% increase to renew our lease. And as much as we like to work together, we don't like it that much. So we decided to give back the building. And what we're going to do is we're going to meet a couple times a month and do collaboration and focus more on leadership and time management and things like that. So we're going to try and work from home for a little bit and see how that goes. So it's really a different dynamic. Aaron overhead doors. So I got such and such stuff piled all in here at my home office. I got a storage unit. We think it's going to be temporary, but we'll see. And then Aaron Overhead Doors just renewed their lease. And I'm moving into my new house in 30 days. So I got boxes everywhere in my house piled up. So if I don't sound like I normally do, all my microphones and podcasting gear is in the storage unit. So bear with me a little bit. I do have my fancy vibe board, but I came up with the idea, why not throw up Torch Talk Podcast on the screen? That looks beautiful, right? A little backdrop. So we're making it fancy today if you guys are watching. The other people we have on, so Joe, you guys have heard Joe come on the show before. He likes to talk about himself a lot, so I don't know if you get anything out of it. But we also have Buck Marshal. Just kidding. Buck is with NorthCurrent, right?
Yep.
And NorthCurrent is I hope I get this right. You correct me where I'm wrong. Kind of a family-owned venture capital, private equity firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are kind of diving into the garage door industry. And your first dip into it was purchase of a company in Florida, which Brad runs, which Brad's with us. Say hello, Brad.
Hey, everyone.
So Brad runs that. We got to spend some time with Brad and Joe at Summit a few weeks ago. And I got to hear a little bit about Brad's story. It's very interesting. He's a smart dude, definitely brings a lot to the table. And in a very short time has been able to grow his company pretty quickly. I think we all can admit, like, one thing that I've always viewed with a startup is, and it's probably like, I didn't realize, like, you got to pay yourself money so you can live, but you don't want to cripple the business. It's like you don't want to be the quarterback of Colorado right now, right? Because the offensive line is not blocking. So Mr. Sanders back there is getting sacked like more times than anybody in the country. Well, I view that very much like business. You know, if the owner takes all the capital and pays himself, then he can't afford to buy good help and take care of business and have a healthy business. So as a startup, you're in this dilemma, right? Like you probably can't afford to pay yourself a lot of money. But if you do have cash to start a business, it's a great jump start. And one thing that you don't have to worry about as much. But let's say you started a business. I'm going to use some terms here that people may not be familiar with. I bootstrapped my company. I did take a few loans to help out along the way. Some of them are paid off, others are not. But bootstrap's just where you put money back into the business to grow it and kind of self-fund it. It's a little bit of a longer slower process. But at one point in everybody's career, you got to come up with like, what's the end game? Am I going to sell? Am I going to acquire other companies? Am I going to, ride it out, hand it down to my children? What's the game plan here? Employees going to buy it out? So I want to have a conversation because I think this is something that a lot of garage door business owners and home service business owners don't have a lot of information about and how it applies to them. So I want to spend a little time just framing some questions. Joe was running DC called United out of Ohio. And unfortunately, we buy doors from him. Not unfortunately because it's him, but unfortunately, we have to go to Ohio to buy doors because our local distributor can't piece together 4 sections, some track, and a spring. So we have to go to Ohio to get the doors correctly. And then you got Brad, and he's running a dealer, and you got Buck, who's running a fund that is looking to give his investors a return on investment by buying garage door companies, investing money into them, and growing them, and creating what's called a platform, where you have all these dealers underneath one platform. And sounds like there was a very strategic move, and you guys have been planning this for a while. But can you talk to us about why the garage door industry and a little bit about the history of NorthCurrent?
Yeah. I'll start off with kind of the history of NorthCurrent and how it relates to the garage door world, what we're trying to do there. So yeah, my business partner and I both grew up around family businesses. Mine was in Pennsylvania and his was down in Florida. And then he actually led the sale of his family business to private equity. So is sat in the same shoes as a lot of the business owners out there. His dad was running the business, grew it to a good stage where they felt like, my business partner, Alex, could either take it over or, it'd be better in the hands of someone else. And, Alex wanted to do something else with his career. So yeah, he led the sale to private equity. They thought that was a good way, to kind of have the family realize a bunch of proceeds. They kept some, chips in the table. They, sold most of the business to the private equity firm, but kept some ownership. So, they could benefit from some of the growth of it. And then ultimately that business sold again. The family got fully out. And yeah, that was when Alex and I launched NorthCurrent. We'd been friends for many years. We'd met when we were at business school together. Both of us had worked for big, investment banks, and then big investment firms. But, I think just growing up around our dads who were running businesses, that was really part of our DNA. So yeah, after Alex, had led the sale of his family business and had that capital, we decided to leave kind of the big investment funds that we were at and launch our own thing to focus, really more on founder-led, family-owned businesses like we've grown up around, and try to take a few of the things we learned on scaling businesses, at this big fund, kind of down to, really more family-led American businesses and partner with them, buy them out if the person wants to step out completely and grow them. So yeah, we've been doing this for a few years. We of course launched January of 2020, which was a very unique time to launch. As I'm sure everybody remembers, things change pretty quickly. But we've chosen to focus all on home services. So, our first few companies were in the HVAC and plumbing space, and that's been great. We've, really grown those businesses well. Similar dynamics, to what some people in the garage door space are probably feeling now, where, the first business as an example that we bought, the founder had done a great job, but he'd started that company back in 1992 in Missouri. And, his son wanted to stay in the business as a sales guy, but didn't really want to run it, just wasn't the right fit. So the founder is a great guy, felt like it was the right time to sell. They were starting to experience some of the growth of COVID that a lot of home services businesses had, but it was just a big headache. So yeah, we bought 90% of the company from him. He kept some chips in there. His son stayed on. His son's still our lead sales guy. We've kind of continued to promote him in the business and, just helped that business grow a lot. I think, and certainly my business partner experienced this with his own family. When you've got everything tied up in one business, if that's the case, and you don't have a bunch of different investments, you can be pretty concentrated, and sometimes it makes sense to diversify a little bit. And sometimes when that happens, then the new group coming in, or you might feel a new burst of energy and want to take some more risk, open up some more offices, expand. So yeah, long story short, we've been growing that business. It's called Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. Have been, buying other HVAC and plumbing brands and electrical brands, doing that. But we discovered as we got in and spent a lot more time in home services, the garage door space, and really liked a lot of the dynamics of it. I'm sure a lot of the reasons that business owners and folks working in the garage door world like it. And yeah, beginning of last year, we closed our first deal, a company called Discount Garage Doors that we rebranded to DGD Garage Doors, kind of take out the emphasis on discount. And since then we've brought another brand into the fold. Yeah, exactly. Called On Track. And also separately from that, found another great business that's on the distribution side with Joe Clark and United. And the founder there was an incredible guy who'd owned the business for many, many years, and it was the right time for him to kind of step back. And he didn't have any family members that he wanted to run it, and he brought in Joe, who's just a great leader and a great guy. And yeah, we bought out most of the business from him. So no, happy to talk more about some of the dynamics that we really like about the garage door space. But yeah, on both the dealer side and the distributor side, we believe in a lot of the long-term trends. Sure, there's going to be some choppiness. It's always hard to predict what's going to happen with the economy, but over the longer term, if you work hard and set things up and execute well, it's just a great space to be in. And I think, for better or for worse, you're gonna start to see some more consolidation in the space and more investors coming in. I don't think it's ever going to look like what's happened on the HVAC and plumbing side, where there's just been tons and tons of private equity guys coming in. But I think, a lot of people are looking at it, and there's going to be some more investments and consolidation. So,
yeah, I mean, to your point, before I go on, are you wearing a United shirt?
I am. Joe? I got. If I don't wear my United,
pay him to wear that.
I almost screwed up today, so I was getting ready to come to work, and I'm like, "Oh, I got my DGD." I almost said Discount Garage Door shirt on, and I'm like, "Crap, we're on the podcast. I got to change. I got to put my United shirt on." So we rep each other's brands.
I like it. All right. So to your point, I think I've told you, mostly probably because of the podcast, I get hit up like once or twice a week from, you have different people reaching out, and some of the listeners may experience this as well. But you have brokers that are guys that are out trying to find companies that are interested in being purchased, and then they kind of match them up with, the companies that are interested in buying. And then you have the private equity firms themselves. Some of them are big enough to have their own team of hunters that are out there like looking. And then you have, smaller ones where they'll reach out. Like you guys have access to tons of data to identify roughly if companies are within the range. Every private equity firm is looking for different things, right? So I just talked to a company last week. They just wanted commercial. That's it. Dock and door. That's all they're interested in. They don't want residential. I know you guys are heavy residential. You guys probably aren't interested in too much commercial, or maybe you are. But you have like segments, and these are things that you guys have kind of mapped out. Like, this is what we think is going to do really well, and we want to stay in our lane, and we want to just execute on what we know best. So as a business owner, let's say we're not prepared, phone call comes in, right? And this question's for Brad. I want to ask Brad this question.
Yeah.
You get hit with a phone call, comes through the line. For some reason, the guy gets past the receptionist or the CSR, gets the business owner, and business owner picks up the phone. He's like, "Hello," and the person says, "Hey, have you ever thought of taking private equity money and retiring, or using it to grow your company. First things first, most of these private equity firms that I've spoken to, they want controlling interest. So can you explain to dealers out there who may not know anything about this, what should they say? What should they not say? And what are they getting into in that conversation?
Yeah, I know it's a great question for sure. So even as a portfolio company of NorthCurrent, I still get these phone calls on an ongoing basis myself too. So I try to keep them brief and cordial, but I think it's important at the onset to not dive too deep too fast on like an introductory call, and make sure that you really kind of have a good handle on your objective as a dealer, short term and long term, right? So yeah, it may be enticing to have someone give you a call to say, hey, we're really interested in purchasing you, but unless you really kind of have an internal game plan about what your short term and long term goals are personally and professionally, it may be a good move to make sure that you kind of have that internal conversation before you really set up a more meaningful, substantial conversation with them. But let's say you're at that point, you really kind of have a good game plan, or at least a timeline of what the next steps might be, and and an exit is is potentially one of those things that you'd explore. I just really recommend making sure that you have a good handle on some key metrics and financial and operational information about your business, so that you can have an informed and meaningful conversation with the investment firm. But also on the flip side too, a payout is not always the right thing, right? I definitely recommend doing some research on the firm themselves. The folks that are leading the firm, the types of companies that they're partnering with, any sort of ancillary or extra information that you can get about the culture of the business itself too, that's reaching out to you, because a paycheck is, or a payout is a payout, but there is life afterwards, and you've got to feel comfortable that whether your plan is to stay in after a sale, or have some meaningful ownership in the business after the sale, that you feel comfortable about the team that's going to be partnering with either yourself or the management team going forward. So having a good handle on the business itself, knowing your numbers financially, operationally, and doing some research on your end about the company that's reaching out to you is really critical before you get into some more meaningful and substantive discussions there.
Yeah, I got thrown off a little bit. I had a guy reach out to me from one company, and we got to talking, and I'm like, man, this dude looks so familiar, and his name sounded familiar and everything. And then it clicked, like he was a wide receiver in the NFL. And I was like,
oh, wow.
What in the world? Like a good one, like played a long time, like a really good one.
That's
and
awesome.
So, you got people from all walks and backgrounds in the private equity game, right? It's a great way to make money doing sales that way. So what are some key metrics? You had mentioned that, like, know your numbers. I've been asked things like, what's your install to repair ratio? That seems to be a very popular question. Commercial to residential ratio. Obviously, gross profit seems to be like there's usually a minimum revenue that companies want. So can you hit on some things like that I didn't just hit on that you think that might be asked, that the owners might need to have those numbers in line and kind of figure it out, just the surface level stuff?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer. And I think Buck probably has some good metrics that they're looking at from the NorthCurrent side as well too. I think customer concentration is a really important thing. So what percent of your business do your top 10 customers essentially represent? Your exposure, or the amount of work that you're doing in, say, residential versus new home construction. I think that's a really important metric as well too, that it's good to have a good handle on. Just kind of really understanding the diversity or diversification of your business across a couple of fronts are things that I would think of as being important during a first call.
Buck, if I understand correctly from a lot of people I've spoken to, Joe, I'm not ignoring you, bro. I'll give you a chance to talk. Just give me a second. But Buck, on that front, right? Like, I have a lot of people when they find out like majority of our revenue is retrofit, they're really excited. It seems like new construction is not what they want. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit and talk about why retrofit's better than new construction?
Yeah. Again, I think the good news is, right, if you're a business owner, you've got a lot of choices. One, just ignore these calls. There's no need to take them. But, if you want to talk to the folks and think about what it could look like, you want to find the right partner. Partners that's gonna work with your employees the way you want, that's gonna work with your team the way you want, and where it's a good fit in terms of what they're looking for and what your business is. So you guys, again, covered a lot of the things, that had come up on a call, if you're willing to, talk about that. And on the retrofit, right, versus new construction side, in general, almost all investors really prefer more the maintenance service and retrofit. The reason is a lot of people, you see new construction, you think of that as being more cyclical. So, over a longer period of time, there's just more risk by having a bunch of new construction. And look, the flip side of that is every recession is different. And, I think people, because everyone has 2008 right at the forefront of their brains, the level of new build and new construction, it's not quite as bad as leading up to, the last recession, but still there's just inherent risk in being really heavily tied. And, if 50%, 60% of your business is coming from new construction, there's just a little more risk. So, every firm to that point, though, depending who you're talking to, or you think you found someone who's a good fit that you want to sell to, some people have hard and fast rules. They'll just say, hey, if you're north of 30%, more than 30% of your revenue, or more than 50% of your revenue is coming from new construction, that's not going to be a fit. Other groups, and, I think we try to do this, can be a little more flexible, where, you'd say, all right, based on your employee numbers, based on how much residential versus commercial, some other factors, even if you are more heavily tied to new construction, it's something they're open to. And, they may have certain structures or different valuations that they'd offer based on it. But yeah, kind of how much and how tied you are to new construction, that what percentage of that makes up of your revenue is an important question. And it's a big dynamic, and generally folks want lower to no new construction.
So, Joe, sorry to wait so long to bring you in.
It's okay.
But you're running United, which is a distribution. You guys are the wholesale side.
Mm-hmm.
How's this experience been for you? Like, because it's very different dynamic, right? Like you're now running United, right? Since the owner walked away.
Yeah.
He sold. He's not involved anymore, is he?
No. I talked to him yesterday. We talked more just personal. I mean, I talked to Jim Osborne, was the owner. He decided about a year before NorthCurrent acquired UGD. He decided he wanted to take a break. He was tired, just like a lot of owners are right now. They're tired. Supply chain quality issues across the board in our industry. It's wearing people out. So he was tired. He was ready to sell. So he wanted to take kind of a back seat. So a year prior, he started gearing the company, I think, for a sale, with moving me into the president role, and him, really essentially working part-time from home. I think that's another thing. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, so Buck, correct me if I'm wrong. Another thing is an enticing thing for these PE companies to see is maybe the owner founder is not involved so much in the day-to-day, to where they're training, somebody to take that company over.
But it's a catch-22, right? Because I mean, like, all the private equity firms I've talked to, they, for the most part, want me to stay on for 3 to 5 years. So is that really, because all I've heard my whole life is don't build your whole business on yourself. If you have a desire to sell one day, but then you build a business that's not dependent on you at all, and then they come in and make you an offer based on the fact of you staying. So how does that play out? Why do you think that that's the case?
I see, and I can, again, probably talking out of turn, but we were on the market before, and the valuation was lower because Jim was, involved in the day-to-day and wanted to make the full exit. So they said, okay, well, here's the amount we want to give you for the company, but now that you're going to leave, we don't think Joe's ready. So now we're going to knock that value, because now we're gonna have to hire a CEO or a president to come in. So again, I think that's why we went back to working part-time with Jim and me more running the company and having, some more seat time at the helm, I should say. So that's where that comes from with me. But life with NorthCurrent now running the company or owning the company, everybody closed their eyes and imagined private equity, or just said the word private equity. Like, what's the first thought? I mean, my first thought was, I'm quitting because these guys are going to fire me. That's what everybody thinks private equity is. They're just going to come in.
My experience with private equity prior to, talking to a lot of these companies is from software, where private equity comes in, buys the company, cuts everything.
Yep.
Dwindles down the team to where they're like, maybe now we're at 60% of the team that we were at. Everybody's overworked, overstressed. They're building it up to sell it again.
Yep.
And then, you got, 5 years and 3 different private equity firms. Your company's been flipped. Every single time there's a new vision and a new, direction. But everyone I'm talking to in the private equity world for the garage door industry, trying to buy in, they're seeing the opposite of that. They want to do a cash injection, grow it, build the revenue up, and then potentially sell it to a larger or a different private equity firm.
Yeah, so it's total opposite of what I thought was going to happen. It was, I don't want to say a cash injection, but it was, let's add headcount where we need. So we brought more. We had one person on the accounting team. He's now 2 people on the accounting team. We've added outside sales to each location, which we didn't have before. We just had one outside salesperson for the whole company. Now we have 3 outside sales members. We were able to add some more customer service. So it hasn't been a cut. It's been the opposite. We've been adding people to really grow and enhance the customer experience to grow the company.
Somer USA and Somer Group want to thank you for an incredible year and the trust you put in them and their products. As you know, Somer places high value on relationships, education, customer service, innovation, and professionalism. And they are grateful to you for your part in the fostering and dissemination of these values. If there is any way Somer can support you in your journey, whether through their products, the values they hold to, or the knowledge Somer has gained through interaction with door dealers across the world, please reach out to the team at your convenience. They are here to serve you. Again, thank you from the entire Somer team. Check them out at somerusa.com. Tell them Ryan sent you.
And
Yeah,
Brad, your experience has been similar too, right? Like, you guys have added a bunch of people and growth.
We have indeed. I mean, recruiting is like a core focus of the business, and has been since since I joined, and since kind of NorthCurrent came to the table. There's just so much opportunity out there that it really requires attracting, developing, and retaining top talent in order to capitalize on some of these opportunities that are out here. I mean, it's a service-based business, right? So the thing that you're selling a lot of times are the the people, the quality of the people really determines how well you grow. And so
you can sell all you want, but if you can't fulfill on the back end, then you're kind of screwed. So I had that experience. My first year, we did $700,000 in sales, and rolling in, that was my first full year, January to December. And that was 2016. Q1 of 2017, we had so much accounts receivable and not enough people to get the jobs, and nobody wanted to work for me because they didn't know who I was. And here I am, a startup company trying to talk experienced guys into coming to work for me, and they're like, "No way."
Now nobody wants to work. Now nobody wants to work for you because they know who you are.
Whatever. So it's been good. But that was the first time where I was like, "We're not going to make payroll." So I ran to the bank and took out a line of credit that helped me make payroll. It was the only time we weren't able to make payroll, and we had the cash owed to us, but we didn't have the cash, and it was because we were selling significantly faster than we could get to. And I pulled back after that and learned. And for me, like, I'm trying to tell everyone, and I'm I think every business is different, but when I first got into the game, like gross revenue was like, I'm going to hit 1 million. I'm going to hit 5 million, Now I'm like, I don't really care if we do 2 million or 20 million. I just want a healthy bottom line, right? And some consistency as much as possible. That's the desire that I have. And with that, like, I feel like I can do anything. So the problem is that, you get there, and then you get a little bit of complacency. And like I did, I went big on 2 huge projects, invested a bunch of money at the Q1 of this year, launching Phantom screens in our Buckhead location. And both are paying off, but still, that changes the game on the financials a little bit. So how do you prep for something like this financially? What are some things that as an owner, if you're like, let's say like your guy, Joe, he's a year out, you're thinking, man, I want to cash out in a year. What are some things you can do to help that evaluation and make it better?
Have good record keeping. That was one thing that helped us as we knew every account, every GL account, what it was going to. But this might be a better question for Buck.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good example, making sure your financials are in order. So, you've got good P&L info over the last few years. And then to what Brian and Joe were talking about, the succession planning, I'd say for most firms, certainly for us, it can work either way, where we love it. If the founder is really involved, is passionate about it, wants to stay on and run it, that's great. But there can be issues if the founder's really involved and central to the day-to-day, but he wants to retire and there's, no number 2 kind of waiting for him in the wings. So, in that case, that can work. It's just then the onus is on the private equity firm coming in to find and replace, kind of bring in somebody new. So, I'd say if you've got some really strong bench strength and you're kind of more out of the business, which was the case with Jim when he was ready to sell United, and Joe is a tremendous leader in the company, that worked out really well. But yeah, on Ryan's side of things with what you've been building, if you're really more central and critical to the company, and there's not kind of a number 2 guy, then certainly we'd be, right, as a private equity guy, much more excited about having you involved and central to it. DGD down in Florida was an example where, the founder, had moved, was looking to step back, didn't really have a number 2 or number 3 in the company. So, we were aware of that going in, and that's why, we got together with Brad, and he, we basically put him in the business to work with all their existing team and we kept everyone else from the existing team and have kind of elevated them and continue to promote a bunch of them. But, we just knew going in that the founder was leaving. You needed someone at top to replace him, and that we would have to bring someone in. So all different flavors, and, you just got to find the right group that's a good fit and can work with what you want.
Yeah. Can one of you guys explain, because we're using some terms, like I'm going back thinking about, like, I hit on it lightly in the beginning, but platform, what is a platform? I know I don't hear it a lot with you guys, but I used to hear it a lot back in the day, but an anchor. Are you familiar with what I'm trying to explain when I say anchor?
Yeah. So
like
if
the one key dealer you're kind of wrapping around. Can you go over kind of that strategy and what that looks like, and the terminology and what those mean?
Yeah, people throw around that term platform, or like you said, anchor. I mean, basically, right, let's say that, our strategy, like what we're doing on the residential side, we're trying to find and bring together some of the best in class, family owned and founder led residential focused dealers in the US. So, that's a platform company, and, that's what we're doing. We're going to bring in a bunch of strong brands. In some cases, folks really want to elevate one brand. That's not our approach. I mean, we're building an overall platform that'll have lots of individual strong brands, but sometimes you'll build a kind of a platform company and there's really going to be one central brand, and the way they do things is, the way others do things. So yeah, I'd say the platform term, that's either kind of the central brand that you want everything to look like, or it's kind of just the central premise and concept. And a lot of time you'll be building the back office and systems around that.
Awesome. And what are the different ways, like, you have short-term and kind of long-term strategies with this. What are you looking for, like NorthCurrent? Just kind of give us an idea. I'm not trying to get you to pitch, but just to give listeners an idea as to, like, what are you looking for in your portfolio?
Yeah. So with our, residential dealer kind of platform that we're building, again, we're looking, to find other folks that, right, care about their employees, care about their customers. So they've built up a lot of good, talented team members that, know what to do, good techs, good CSRs, strong customer reputations, and, that are in other kind of interesting geographies that hopefully have some growth in them. So there are some things on the back end, maybe we have some brands that use Service Titan. We've got a good relationship with them. Maybe they want to do that. Maybe they don't, right? We have some other brands on House Call Pro. We don't like to dictate what people have to do or need to do. But yeah, we're trying to bring in, a bunch of different brands where everybody can benefit from the scale, from the diversification, the power we have with vendors, some of the various expertise we've built over the years, including from HVAC and plumbing, on the digital marketing side, the television marketing side, the recruiting. So that's what we're doing on the dealer side. And then similarly, we don't have a commercial garage door business yet. We do a little bit of commercial, but, talking about a platform, to Ryan's point, we're excited to build a commercial garage door platform. So, we're looking similar there. We don't have one yet, whereas we have 2 residential garage door dealers. But yeah, we're looking for the right kind of commercial dealer to start us off with, a separate set of companies where they're going to have their own best practices and, be able to kind of learn from each other. So, yeah.
So short term, you guys have more of a short-term outlook or a long-term outlook?
We look longer term. I think, that tends to work well for us. I'd say we like to set both short-term goals and longer ones. And, we work with the leaders at each business to do that. Right. An example, when we started with discount garage doors, was kind of improve the branding, start pricing a little better, do a lot of tech education. We set up DGD University once we rebranded as DGD to do a lot more tech training and tech recruiting. set another goal of, growing and expanding, opening up a new office. So we opened up a new office in Orlando. And yeah, then longer term, we have goals to bring in other business into the fold and ultimately kind of reach a much bigger scale, with a good diversified company and sell again, which will, benefit us at NorthCurrent, but also, we're giving equity away to top leaders, and people can roll in if we bring a new brand into the fold and benefit from that. So yeah, I'd say to anyone, if you've got a business and you feel like you want to look at selling it, it's important to find an investor where, you're kind of aligned on the short term, but also, the longer term.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for a lot of business owners in the garage door industry is like, how much cash am I getting out?
Yeah.
And then like, are you going to take care of my people and my business? Because, for a lot of us, we're local guys, right? Our reputation's tied to the business. If you come in and you start screwing around and doing some shady stuff, it's going to look bad on you, even if you don't own it anymore, because you spent so much time with it. So what was the first topic I just said? Oh, how much money am I going to get? So let's say, I think there's a misconception, people like how much money they're going to get, like overall, right? And then also how the money's distributed. Like you got to pay off the debts, and historically, I believe that's how it worked, right? So if you have a total amount of, let's say it's $2 million, you got $1 million in debt. So I think $1 million of that goes to the debt, and then $1 million of that goes to the business owner, along with any cash out for assets and cash in account. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah. Again, everybody's got a little different flavors, but what you just talked about is the way it's generally done. Let's say your business is worth $2 million, but yeah, you've got a bunch of debt on the company, loans you've taken out. The buyer's gonna kind of pay you $2 million. You settle a bunch of the debt. The way we do it, you also get to keep the cash. If you've got a bunch of cash in the business, you keep that. So kind of like, here's the $2 million price, and the debt that's on the business or the cash you built up, you keep all of that. And what does the buyer get? The buyer gets, the business, the team, the inventory, if you've got trucks, kind of your other assets generally, that goes, and that's factored into the price.
Okay. So anything you guys want to add? We're going to be wrapping up here in just a minute, but I think I've covered quite a bit. I'm trying to think of all the different things. Like I know, what about this? So you have a general conversation, you kind of dig in what the people are saying. Next stage, usually they're going to ask you for an NDA and some financials. Should you do it? Should you not do it? What does that look like?
Yeah. I think it's important, right? You want to go back, you want to, take a few nights, sleep on it. It's a big decision to really start going down the path and entertaining it. Something you might want to talk about, with your family. But yeah, again, you talked in the beginning a little about pros and cons, right? There, cons would be you own it, it's yours. There might be a lot more growth opportunity, ahead just individually, but the pros are it would diversify you. You get the benefit of being part of kind of a bigger team, or if you just want to sell it completely, the pro is, it's a lot of cash right there. So no, I think it's most important, when that comes, that you feel good about the group or the individual you're selling to, that he's going to take care of your people, and that he's done it before. So they've got a real track record of doing that versus kind of expanding too quick and then closing up offices or letting people go. That's generally probably not the partner you want to go with. But yeah, it's tough. It's a very individual decision, but again, if you're a business owner, you've done the hard work of setting things up right. So the good news is, you've given yourself the choice. Yeah.
And I would say the one piece of advice on NDA is just try to make sure that it's a mutual NDA and not a one-way. Any other advice you guys can think of to give dealers that might be going through this process? I will say too, while you're thinking about that, understand that if you don't have somebody that can pretty much be on hand for the, 2-3 months doing this, 20 to 30 hours a week, it's a lot, right? Like, I mean, you guys are going in, doing a full audit, you're doing inventory, doing all the checks and balances, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Like, it's a lot. So somebody needs to be dedicated to that, helping out, giving access, getting reports, answering questions. Can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, we try to streamline it. I think just Alex and I growing up around family businesses get it. You're getting pulled in a lot of places. We try to do a lot less than we did at our old private equity firms. But yeah, you'll have, the financials and accounting side of things, right? Where the buyer's going to look at your tax records, look at your P&Ls, balance sheet, really try to figure out what's going there. You've got insurance diligence, which again, we try to keep really simple and straightforward and just work with your broker, but figure out what's going on there. Legal diligence, which is, kind of getting a lot of the key legal docs, and, you got to negotiate and work on the purchase agreement, where everything's kind of laid out there. And yeah, it's a lot. So, that'll take a little bit of time, and it's tough. I think the owner, oftentimes you've got to run the business in the day to day. So, we've done it where it's just the owner knowing and just the owner being involved, but it's much easier, much less stressful, and works better if, the owner at least loops in the bookkeeper, or who's ever running his numbers, and, someone else to really help out, because it can be pretty intensive.
Yeah. And, I'm really transparent with my team about, the goals and stuff. And so, like, morale can be really dampered if you let your team know that, you're in the process of selling. So, as much as transparency pays off usually long term, it can have some negative short term effects as well. So you got to be careful with that. Anything else that you guys can think of that might be helpful to business owners?
If you get an email or a phone call from NorthCurrent Partners, just take it.
Well, here's what I'll say, and I'm not like endorsing you guys here, but
I am.
I will say that I've talked to quite a few private equity firms, a few dozen at least, and all the way from, I did the research, their claim was right. I think they were the second biggest private equity firm in the world, all the way down to like small guys. And, I've been really impressed with y'all's approach and just transparency. And, I think the biggest thing when you're essentially, if you're going to stay on board, you're essentially bringing on a partnership, whether it's short term or long term, but you want to be able to sit in the room and enjoy one another. You know what I'm saying? And not feel like they're going to stab you in the back at any minute. Like a lot of these private equity firms, man, they will tell you whatever you want to hear to get the deal done. And then, Joe, you and I talked about it. Like some of these companies, they'll pull the rug out right before the closing and drop the price just to stress you out. And you're like, you know what? I've gone this far. Let's just sign off on the docs. And it's a game that private equity firms play. And I had asked you if they were pretty straightforward, and you were like, yep, they're straightforward. And, we talked, and, my desire is to end up with a company like NorthCurrent that, at least from the outside and even from the inside, from Joe, who I respect dearly, is gonna really care about the business owner, the details, the business, the reputation, because it can go really bad really fast. And I just want to say, like, from my perspective, I haven't met anyone at any other private equity firm that I feel as confident about from a business owner's perspective, like joining a group than you guys. And so you're at the top of my list when the time comes. So I just want to say, like, kudos to you guys for just being human, like, I think that's a big deal. Like, there's a human aspect to this, and a respect. We've poured our heart and soul into these businesses, and, we have people that work for us that we dearly love, and we want them to be taken care of and treated properly. And so I feel 100% confident that you guys align with what we're trying to do. You know, Joe tells me all the great things. I mean, although you guys are Philly fans, which is really unfortunate and sad. But
you're looking forward to the postseason.
I'm looking
Phillies,
forward
Braves,
to the postseason.
If we make it out of the wild
It looks
card.
like you're going to make it.
Phillies have been playing some good baseball recently, so we'll see. And the Eagles are looking pretty good too.
I got we have season tickets. Aaron Overhead Doors has season tickets to the Braves, so we give them to our employees and we sell some of them. But we ended up springing for the postseason tickets and crossing our fingers. We get to. We think Josh and I did the math. We think if Josh and I go to like 2 games of each series, including the World Series, and we sell the rest, we should be able to break even or come close to it. So we're kind of excited. We just need every series to go to 7 and us have the home field advantage. And we feel like this is going to be a free trip to the World Series for us.
Man, I hope so. It could be good. We'll see if the Phils make it out of the wild card. Yeah, Braves are likely next. And no, Phils, with Wheeler, we'll see which Nola decides to show up. He's a good pitcher, and probably Ranger Suarez will be the number 3. But no, it's exciting. Yeah, thank you, Ryan, again for everything you do for the industry, the information, and dedication you put out there. It helps a lot of different owner operators, a lot of people working for dealers. So, it means a lot. And I think that's incredible. So thank you.
And thank you guys for sponsoring Summit 2 weeks ago. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You guys put a lot of hard work into that. And I was very impressed with the quality of the output there.
And Ryan, this isn't on purpose, but you get badges every show that you go to, and I've been to a lot of them. Right there, buddy.
See it.
There it is.
And I actually hung that up when I got back, and I was trying to figure out how do I get it to hang because it kept falling off, but it's slid now in the in style that I have, from the door section to the wall. But yeah, it's that event was a good time. Brad tried to get me to buy a boat. But
we got to get Ryan up to our event.
That's right. That's right.
We did a door day.
The Phillies game.
Yeah, we did a door day last year. I know you're a Braves guy, but we had a Pennsylvania dealer who owns his business who's a Braves fan, unfortunately. But yeah, it was fun. We went to a ball game and then had a conference just kind of talking about how to build budgets, what KPIs to look at, some digital marketing stuff, but had a bunch of dealers, which was fun. So it is,
as long as you're cool with me wearing a Braves jersey,
you can wear your Braves
my
gear.
Acuna jersey.
You can even get a picture with the Philly fanatic.
I'm okay. That's fine. I don't need that.
We did the tour of the ballpark the day before the conference, and I think one of the attendees had a Brave shirt on.
He did. He got harassed.
Yeah, that's a brave.
I'm okay.
Listen,
you can harass me all you want. I'm wearing my Braves gear. I don't care who they're playing. I'm there to watch and cheer for whatever team the Phillies are playing. I'll be respectful, but I cannot cheer for the Phillies.
What about
what you guys did to us last year?
What about your
after what you guys did to us last year? You can never be forgiven. You guys weren't even in the conversation in August.
It was like the '93 team when they caught some lightning in a bottle. Phil's got some good players. It's a fun team, but the Braves are great. I mean, you got a lot of young guys too. So
yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. We appreciate it. I think this is super helpful because more and more private equity firms are reaching out to dealers, and I got guys hitting me up like, "Hey, these guys just reached out. What should I do?" And I think answering these questions will help them out too. So I really appreciate you guys coming on. And if you guys are interested, you want to throw out some metrics maybe real quick? Like if you meet these metrics, you're interested?
Yeah. For us, I mean, in general with NorthCurrent, it's better if it's 30 employees or more. Just because, we're looking for that again. We want to know what the percentage new construction is, but we're open. Generally, the less new construction, the better. But, we've got a lot of businesses that that deal with builders, and that can be an important part of bringing good dollars down to the bottom line. Revenue wise, I'd say we typically try to focus on 5 million or more. But again, for the right fit, we've done smaller than that. A lot of it too is, just having good team members that people have built over time.
Hey, Buck, I'm still here. If you're a wholesaler in a large metropolitan market or a good market, we'd be interested in talking to you too.
There you go.
Yeah, Joe's growing.
Expanding.
Joe's expanding. He's excited to open up a new office. Joe's a man of growth. Although
we're in Columbus, where the best football team in the United States is.
Wide left.
And now we're going to go to where the second best team is. We're getting ready to launch United Garage Door Cincinnati, so we can go down and see the Bengals.
Yeah, we're going to go to the Buckeyes game in November. It'll be good. I'm more of a Penn State fan, but
yeah, the Buckeyes are good until they get to the playoffs. So it's really unfortunate.
I don't know. Ryan Day's angry.
When you don't play anyone during your regular season, it makes it tough when you face a real team in the playoffs. Anyway, Thank you guys so much for coming in. Listen, guys, if you guys are interested and you meet those parameters or think NorthCurrent would be a good fit for you, make sure you hit up NorthCurrent. How do they find you, Buck?
You can email me. I'm B Marshall with 2 L's, bmarshall@ncpartners.com or bd@ncpartners.com. We've got someone who runs kind of our business development. You can also just, Google NorthCurrent and check out our website. If you know Joe from United, he's well known to many. You can hit him up or, welcome, or, even reach out to Ryan and whatever works. But appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. If you need anything and if you can't get a hold of them, just reach out to me. I'll make the connection for you. But thank you for following along. Be safe. Take care.